hidden hope. Let's see how it goes. Oh. In this video, I'm going to go ahead and show you 5 ways to eliminate blow-up holes from your scorecard. So, number 1 is simple. You've got to start using your handicap. What do I mean by that? What I mean is that if you're an 18 handicap, that means you get 1 stroke per hole. Now, what do most of us do? We go out, we play terrible, we shoot 100, we're an 18 handicap, and we go, oh, you know, I was way over my handicap, I suck today. Okay, well, if you step up to the number 1 stroke index hole on the golf course, guess what? You're not meant to par it. Okay, that's what a scratch golfer is meant to do. You get a stroke on that hole. So what does it actually mean that par 4 really is? It's a par 5. Think about it. You know, you'll play a hole that's, say, 444 yards like this one we're about to play and go, God, this is a tough hole. This is going to beat me up. Don't make a double or a triple. Then you get on the front 9 or the back 9 and there's a par 5 that's 470 yards, so 20, 30 yards further. And you're thinking, I can birdie this hole. This is a great hole for me. Well, what's the difference? 25 yards, is that big a difference? No, what we're doing is putting too much pressure on ourselves by thinking this par 4, you need to par. No, that's why it's one of the hardest holes on the golf course. It's because you fall into the trap and you go ahead and try and drive it and try and beat up the toughest hole on the golf course. Well, guess what? You might not be that good. That's why you're a 12 or a 16 or a 22 handicap. So for me, what I want you to do is go, no, it's not a par 4, it's a par 5. Now you've got that in your mind. It's like, well, this is a lot easier as a par 5. And for those of you who are 18 handicaps, guess what? Every single hole is a bogey hole, which means it's a par, because your handicap, 5, net 4, you means you made a par, which means par 3s are actually par 4s, and par 5s are actually par 6s. How much easier does that make the game when you start to take the pressure off by using your handicap before you tee off? Now, number 2, what have we got to do? Now that we know this is a par 5, first thing we've got to do is we've got to make sure we keep the ball in play. Listen, don't poke the bear. The reason why stroke index holes, you know, this is number 2 on the golf course. The reason why it's stroke index 2 is because people make 10s on this hole. Why? Because they play too aggressively. So what we're going to do is say, number 1, you've just got to keep the ball in play at all costs. You've got to get the ball in play. So no, you don't need to advance a massive driver down there and bring a ton of risk in because it's a par 5. Remember, because you get a stroke. So the idea here is all we've got to do is put it in play at all costs. So maybe driver isn't the best play. What's the straightest club in your bag? Remember, there's no photos on the scorecard. Just a number at the end of the round. So if you want to have your pride with you and say, well, I'm going to hit my driver because it's the toughest hole, great, enjoy those 8, 9s and 10s. If you want to turn them into 5s, what I want you to do is take your straightest club in the bag, get it down there and advance it, realizing that we're not trying to get to the green in 2 on this par 4. We're trying to get there in 3. So what you're going to do is take the safest club you possibly can, and instead of going for the green in regulation, we're going to try and get to the 100-yard marker, what I call the scoring zone. Think about this, right? The best players in the world, how often do they hit the green? 71% of the time. Okay, so 12.5 times around. And they're hitting 9-irons in that are going up into the moon and landing soft. You're hitting eye-height 4 hybrids with a slice on them that are coming in like bullets. They're not going to stay on the green. So if the best players in the world only hit the green 70% of the time, we've got to start to realize we don't want to go for the green. It puts too much pressure on ourselves. What we've got to do is take 100 yards off of the hole. So instead of 444 here, it's 344. Take that pressure off and realize it's a par 5. I'm going to advance my hybrid twice down the fairways and get myself in the scoring zone every single time. If you do this, you are going to take away the blow-up holes because it usually starts from the tee box. You take too much risk, put it in trouble, don't get out of trouble, and that's where that 8, 9, 10 comes from. So let's take a look. So instead of this, taking the driver, bringing the risk into play, hit and hope, baby, hit and hope. Let's see how it goes. Oh. So instead of that, how about we go ahead and take our good old trusty hybrid, knowing that all we've got to do is advance it 350 yards in 2 shots. Put ourselves in play, take the trouble out so that we can go ahead and make bogeys and not quads and 8, 9s and 10s. So if you're interested in learning more about the scoring method and how to take quads and triples off of your scorecard and really get you shooting more consistently, lower scores, having more enjoyment, I want you to check out thescoringmethod.com. Go and be part of the community, watch the videos, get all the downloads, everything that you need to get guaranteed results, lower scores for your game. Okay, now you're in the fairway, you're in play, you've kept it in play off the tee. We are avoiding, remember, the blow-up holes. Now, the next thing that we're going to do here is realize is that, yes, I'm 233 yards from the hole. Back in 1987, you crushed a 3-wood. I remember it. It even had a little draw to it. It released up onto the green. It was amazing. Guess what? It's not in 1987 anymore. So bringing this wood out with the trouble all the way down the left side, and if I do hit it good, I could hit it in the face of the bunker on the right. What I want to remind you is this is a par 5. All we're looking to do is make a 5. So the thing that we've got to do is get rid of the club that's going to bring out the risk. We've got 135 yards basically to the 100-yard marker, okay? So what I want to do now is go ahead and pick up a club that I feel confident with. Maybe for some of you it's your 7-iron. Maybe that's about your 145, 150-yard club. Why don't we just go ahead and again get ourselves in a position to score, knowing that left is dead, right is more space, and now just go ahead and see yourself putting a nice confident swing down the fairway to the right side. And there I am. Now I'm inside of 100 yards. I've got the opportunity now to wedge onto the green, 2-putt, make a bogey with my handicap. Remember, it would be a net 4. And I've parred the hole and I haven't got beaten up by this very difficult long par 4. Okay, so the next part that we're going to do here is we're going to start to understand that we are now inside the scoring zone. Remember, we're not trying to hit the green in regulation, we're trying to get in a position to score. So my challenge for you now is to understand that it's compounding that really leads to your problem. In your retirement account, it's great. Compounding leads to lots more money. But in golf, the problem starts off the tee with too much aggression, then too much aggression into the tee box with penalty strokes, then frustration on the green and too many putts. It just keeps compounding. So how do we stop it? I'd love to tell you play one shot at a time, but even the best players in the world struggle with that. What I want to challenge you to do is just split the hole into 2. The first part of the game of golf is, can you get yourself in a position to score? So if you can get inside of 100 yards, I believe in regulation, so 2 on a par 4, I think you've got a great opportunity to score on this hole. Okay, the second part is, can you get down, get the ball in the hole? That's the second part of the game. So I want to remind you, once you get into a position to score, that game is over. You're not thinking about the number anymore. You're now on a par 3. And in a round of golf, I want you to have 18 times in a round of golf that you're inside of 100 yards. Sometimes it might be 70 yards, 50 yards, 20 yards. Sometimes you might be on the green regulation. But you're playing 18 par 3s. If you break the game up into those 2 parts, entering the scoring zone and then getting down in the scoring zone, it takes a whole ton of pressure off and it will stop the compounding problem, and that's going to lead to you having a lot more 4, 5s and 6 on your scorecard and bring your score under 85. Now that we're in a position to score, what we've got to start to understand is that every one of us believes that we have a sniper rifle, okay? But every one of us has a sawn-off shotgun. Good friend, great golf coach Scott Fawcett talks about this. Our dispersion rate, understand, when we hit a wedge, even with a wedge, let alone a 3-wood from 233 yards, your dispersion rate is massive. You know, it's probably 50 feet to the left, 50 feet to the right, 50 feet short and 50 feet long. So what we've got to do to take away the blow-up holes is not go at the flagsticks. Okay, you can see that pin is in the back left-hand corner. If I go at that and miss it left, I'm going to have a very difficult chip shot. But if I went for the very middle of the green, and maybe sometimes favored long and left, because most amateurs are short and right. And what you'll tend to notice when you play golf courses is, let's take a look over there, Fonzie. Isn't it amazing how a lot of bunkers are on the short right side of the golf course? I never see bunkers long left on any hole. So if you were to aim in the middle of the green, if anything, favor a little bit long left, and think that if you had 100 balls, what would the dispersion be? Most of the time you would now be in a good position to putt. If you start to get aggressive and start to take aim at that flagstick, especially if the pin is in the front or the pin is to the right, you're going to end up in trouble, most likely the bunker. That's going to lead to many of you to that triple, that quad, that 10 on a scorecard, that blow up that we don't want. So we're looking for a nice committed golf shot, aiming away from the flagstick. I always like players to take a little bit of extra club so you don't have to hit it perfectly. I'd like you to be able to miss it a little bit and still get it to your target. And we're going to set up and hit our golf shot. So just remind yourself that your dispersion is bigger than you think. You're going to have bigger misses than you think. And we've got to have you start to aim at the middle of the green and play extra club so we start to have consistent misses on or close to the green, not in trouble. All right, so here we are. We're in the middle of the green. Fantastic. Remember, it's a par 4. No, it's not. It's a par 5 because you have a handicap. You get extra strokes, remember. So now that I'm in the middle of the green, all I got to do is 2-putt. Now, why do people not two-putt? Well, one of the reasons is they spend way too much time on the driving range and not practicing putting. But really the main reason is way too high expectations. So let's take a look at this, right? I'm going to pace it off. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 30 feet. On the PGA Tour, on the best greens in the world, what do they make from this position? The best players in the world. At best 11%, probably 10. So realistically for us, we're more likely to three-putt than make this putt. So what I want to do is just take away this myth of, well, the thing is, the putt that never got there never went in. And it's like, yeah, but it's an inch short, it's a tap-in-inch putt, and I want to two-putt it anyway, versus it going past the whole 6 feet. So when I talk about distance, I don't care if I'm a foot or 2 feet short or a foot or 2 feet long. Most people always overread the putt. They spend all their time looking at how, oh, does it do an inch or 6 inches? It would be great if you knew pace and could start it on your intended line. But what I want you to start focusing on is this. Instead of looking down at the ball and staring at the ball and trying to figure out distance, think about every other sport. I look at every other sport. I'm throwing a football, I'm throwing a baseball, I'm tennis serve, I'm throwing a basketball, I'm bowling a ball. Everything's at the target. So what I want you to do is stand a good 2 feet away from it and just focus on pace. How hard do I need to hit this? So eyes on the hole, always looking at the hole, feeling the distance, looking at that hole, nice and confident, eyes on the hole, glance back at the ball. And again, you're not worried so much about the read. Who cares? This is 1.5 feet to the right, but guess what? It's 1.5 feet putt because I got the pace right. So the beauty here is that on long putts, I want you to be thinking about pace, not read. And then on these small putts, the most important thing is pick out the smallest point. Don't rush these ones. You've worked this whole way to get here. Pick out the smallest thing you can possibly find right there. Keep your eyes narrowed on that small little point. Knock it in, and there it is. There's your 5. You've simplified it. You made a 5 net 4 for a par. What have you done? You've taken away the trouble. You've taken out the blow-up holes by realizing you've got to keep the ball in play at all costs because your tension and expectations are too high. You're trying to make a par on a hole where people make 8s and 9s and 10s. I want you to play it as a par 5, right? Add 1 stroke because you get a stroke as a handicap. Second thing is keep the ball in play at all costs. Don't play to the green, play to the 100-yard marker. Once you're at the 100, remember, you're just going for the middle of the green, try and take extra club. From there, work on pace on your long putts. And then when you're on the short putts, take dead aim, dead focus on the smallest putt you possibly can. You do these 5 things, I will guarantee you're going to take blow-up holes off of your scorecard, play better golf, have more fun. And be sure to check us out at thescoringmethod.com. Like the video, subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.